All right, welcome to Roughing the Passer NFL podcast, episode 19. Yeah, there's more episodes than NFL weeks. That's because we do some preseason stuff, so the week numbers won't match up. We're on the Six Pack Coverage Network. Happy to be a part of that crew. They do a whole bunch of sports, food, entertainment, finance, fantasy league, college football, obviously pro football too with us here as well. Let's go like we always do. I'm joined by Mr. David Lee today down in Dallas. I'm here in Syracuse, and Jordan Newman is having young men fun, as they say. So, but the first thing we're going to do, let me share my screen. We'll go to the today's scoreboard uh, and see what's happening around the league. So we see 49ers. We're down 7-0, but they wound up winning 23-7 over the Houston Texans. The Chargers got back on the right track, beating the Broncos 34-13, and I got a feeling that outcome might seal Vic Fangio's fate in Denver. The Saints and Panthers played to Saints won 18-10, kind of a must-win for them. Here's a basketball game score. Seattle scoring 51 points. I didn't even know they were capable of that. And the Lions 29. So if you had the over in 79, yeah, you covered. But Lions won a couple games and then started looking like the Lions again. A game I sort of watched bits and pieces of. The Cardinals, unfortunately for David Lee, beat the Cowboys 25-22. A game going on right now. We got the Packers 13, Vikings nothing. And some earlier games. We had the Bills. This is a game I watched. 29-15 over the Falcons. The Titans destroyed the Dolphins 34-3. The Jaguars 10. The Patriots 50. So it doesn't matter if Urban Meyer's there or not. Their struggles continue. A game that surprised me, the Raiders beat the Colts 23-20, and both of these teams are right on the precipice of playoffs. And this game sort of hurts the Steelers' chances. Not that I was optimistic anyway, but just to be official. In the I'm leaving, I got to go home, Bo, Antonio Brown, the Buccaneers held off the Jets 28-24. We'll talk more about this actually before we get into the picks. And the Rams had to rally to beat kind of a wounded Ravens team 20-19. The Eagles held off the Washington football team 20-16. And the Bears looking like world beaters. I guess everyone looks like world beaters when you play the Giants. That's just a dumpster fire. Whenever I feel bad as a Steeler fan, David, I just think about the Giants and I feel a little bit better. The Bears 29, Giants 3. Another one, a little surprising. That I think the Bengals are showing they're for real. They beat the Chiefs 34-31 in a high scoring shootout type game. And tomorrow night we have what's by all appearances looks like Ben Roethlisberger's final game at home against the Cleveland Browns. And even though I thought he kind of should have retired last year, kind of knowing this is probably the end. I say probably because Roethlisberger is kind of wishy-washy sometimes. It's sort of sad that era is coming to an end, but also we've got to find that next guy. It's just that's just the way it goes. So there's your scoreboard, and the Packers just scored again. They're up 19-0. So before we get into our picks, David, it's on every news channel, including non-sports one. Antonio Brown unhappy. Basically half undresses, throws his stuff down. And instead of just, it's one thing to leave the stadium like that, but he's going in the end zone, like putting his hands up, trying to get the crowd I don't know what his purpose honestly was, just being
Yeah.
an idiot, which he's actually kind of perfected. And just when you think like he's got a second chance on his career, he's with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. Bruce Arians is a no nonsense guy that's going to keep him in line. Tomlin's sort of getting the opposite sort of reputation the last year or a few years. And then today happens. And so I guess my first question to you is Arians in the press conference said you won't talk about him because he's no longer a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. It's an easy way to just kind of avoid the topic, but I'm sure he was aggravated. But I mean, I guess my first question to you is this it for Antonio Brown? I mean, do you think someone? I mean, it's just even in New England, he had a couple issues under Belichick. Now in Tampa Bay under Arians with Brady again, and he still can't. It looked like he was smooth sailing, and then the wheels come off the bus again. You think anyone really? You think this is the end for AB in the NFL, or do you think someone down the line here offers? The only way I see it, answering my own question, is going to be a really crappy team. Someone like the Jaguars, maybe the Jets, the Giants, maybe to just for the attention, just for sell a few more tickets. But even then, I wonder if even those type of teams would even want to kind of derail sort of their rebuild processes, which they're all kind of in. So, I mean, do you think this is it? Have we seen the last of Antonio Brown as far as a player goes?
I think it probably is. It wouldn't blow me away if he ended up in an NFL uniform somewhere else. Again, the guy is clearly not all healthy in the head. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't have this many episodes and so many different atmospheres with so many different teams, and the one common denominator of the problem is always Antonio Brown, no matter where you go. And you're right. He goes to the best organization of the past 2 decades, and then he goes to the defending Super Bowl champions. And heck, he scored a game-winning touchdown, like a week or two ago. So it's not as if, it's just, it makes no sense. It makes no logical sense at all. So yeah, I think I would probably roll the dice and say that he's probably completely done. But we'll see what happens in the offseason too. He's had some really weird, off the field, personal decisions and all that type of stuff. So, let's kind of see what happens in the offseason. But yeah, just a really weird scene. There's already 89 different memes showing him taking his shirt off and throwing it into the
well, I'm
opposing
going to add.
crowd.
I'm gonna post one here in a minute, but go ahead. It's not a meme, but it's a photo that I found sort of funny. But go ahead. I didn't mean to. I just
Yeah, no, it was funny to see all these popping up, and there's also been a bunch of praises for your guy Tomlin for putting up with him for so many years. So yeah, I don't know. That was a really bizarre thing to see. So I think in some ways it's going to hurt Tampa Bay a little bit in the
yeah,
postseason. It might, you are losing a guy that he wasn't like consistently a major part of the offense, but he was there. He made some plays. He really did.
yeah.
Um, but maybe it's addition by subtraction, things that we don't really know about. But yeah, it was just pretty bizarre to see. And the only thing I read, and I haven't looked into it much, so I don't know if this is true, but it was that Arians was trying to get him was actually trying to get him into the game, and he didn't want to go in. So I don't know. That's the only kind of report I read. But
that's what I heard. That Arians asked him twice to re-enter the game, and he refused. Antonio Brown initially spinned it that he got benched and was not happy about it. And even if that was the case, still not how you obviously react. You're supposed to be a grown man. Like you said, there's some mental stuff going on wrong upstairs. We got a comment here. Antonio Brown career is over. I'm leaning that way, but we've seen some crazy stuff in the NFL. Who knows? Definitely probably for the next year or two. I don't think anyone's going to touch him. I think he needs to get some help in psychological ways before he even thinks about football. You made a great point, David. The timing of it is odd. They're getting ready for playoffs. They're probably one of the prohibited favorites to make a Super Bowl run, and you do this now. And if what Arians is saying is true, that he asked him to come back into the game and he refused, I mean, that's just odd too. I mean, most guys don't ever refuse to go back in the game. They want to be out there, and to
Right.
not go in the game and refuse to go in the game and then get mad about that, to undress, half undress, and parade around the stadium before going down the tunnel and exit in stage left. I mean, that's just odd behavior. He was not allowed back on the team plane. That was announced. He had to find his own ride home, but there has been a leaked picture of him still trying to get on the plane. Let me pull it up. I don't know if it's accurate or not. Where is it? Oh, right here. Here we go. There's Antonio. The plane, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that looks pretty accurate. Yeah, he never got dressed again, huh?
He's like, hey, it's hot down here.
Yeah.
He's trying, he says, hey, if you're not going to let me in the plane, I just got to get on the plane. So,
Right.
So there you go. Hopefully he held on for dear life and landed safely. But a little fun. We got, he's making fun of us with his behavior. We can have a little fun at his expense too. So, I mean, just crazy. Just when you think like you've seen the last odd thing from this guy, he goes and does this now. And again, I think this is probably it. But he's, we're still going to hear about him in the news. I think it's a safe bet. He's going to do some crazy stuff off the field. I hope I'm wrong for him and his family's sake, but I think the track record shows that even off the field, he's got some issues. We had a couple new people join in, so I'm going to put the picture back up for those that missed it. This is Antonio Brown was not allowed back on the Bucs team plane, but didn't want to take no for an answer. So there he is trying to get a ride nonetheless. They wouldn't allow him in, but he said, I'll ride the wing. But, just a crazy scenario. Like you said, the timing of it for the Buccaneers is not ideal. I mean, obviously they didn't anticipate. I got to believe they didn't anticipate something like this happening today. They were planning to have him in their offense, and now they don't. And instead of talking about the win, what is the media in football press going to talk about? The Antonio Brown situation, probably for the next couple of weeks, even though they have another game to play. So it's going to take away from what they're trying to accomplish. They've showed some chinks in their armor at times, and so I don't know. I still think they're going to be a favorite, but can they overcome the distraction and complete their goal? I know if you watch kind of Arians last week when they clinched the division, he really poo-pooed and said, hey, this is just one of three things we want to get done, and if we don't get the other two, this one don't really mean much to me. So they've got sort of a Super Bowl or bust kind of mantra, and this probably doesn't help with it. Maybe if it happened earlier in the season, but it's happened basically. You got one more regular season game and then postseason, so they might have a bye potentially, but still not a good look. I know a lot of people don't like Bruce Arians, but kudos for him to kind of just say, hey, he's not on the team no more. You act like that, you're gone. He's been even critical of Tom Brady. So I like that he's in charge and he acts like he's in charge, and they've had success there with him. So we'll see. I mean, I don't want to beat the Antonio Brown horse, but any kind of closing thoughts on him?
No, not really. I mean, it's like I said, it's bizarre, but it's also not really surprising. You almost were kind of waiting for something to happen. It's just given the history, but it's a weird thing that that Tampa Bay is, like you said, right there, arguably the best team in the NFC, and trying to defend the Super Bowl win, and it's I do think that that they do lose a weapon there, so that'll be kind of interesting to see once the postseason gets going underway. But if you made me guess right now, I'd probably say wouldn't see him in the NFL again. But I wouldn't be blown
Yeah,
away if, like you said, if some team just took a snag at him for a couple months next year. But
yeah.
it'll be
The only
interesting to see
team,
kind of what happens in the offseason too.
yeah, the only team I see doing something like that is someone that's pretty far away and just like, hey, we got to have some attention here. We ain't getting it done for how we're playing on the field. Let's get somebody talking about us. And even then, I don't see it. I don't think people want the headache. I think we talk about the front office and coaches signing them. I think there's a point now where even players on these teams are like, I don't want this guy in my locker room. Like we don't need this.
Right.
So I think it's more than just the front office making the decision to sign a guy. I think you could potentially have members of that team say, "What are we doing here? I don't want, we're trying to move forward, rebuild, win a Super Bowl. We don't need this distraction. His track record speaks for itself, and I don't want this guy here. I want people who care about the rest of us and want to win as a singular focus. This guy's shown he's about himself, and we don't want. So I think that might be really what prevents some teams from even signing him, is just knowing that it might fracture a locker room or be such a distraction there that he's not worth any kind of output you get on the field. One more question before we get into our picks, David. We saw the Bengals and the Chiefs today. The Chiefs were favored, obviously, and the Bengals won the game outright. Big performances from Burrow and Jamar Chase, and they look like a legit. I hate to say this, being a Steelers fan, but we're doing a show. You got to be real and you got to be honest. I mean, they look like, to me, legitimate contenders now in the AFC. And
Yeah.
that's, Joe Mixon didn't actually have a great game today. So they did that without, Joe Mixon, 12 carries, 46 yards. So it wasn't like they had incredible running back performance. They're just playing like Tecmo Bowl type football. And they beat the Chiefs looked like they were back on track, and everyone was predicting Super Bowl again easily for them. And then today happened. So the Bengals, I think, when you look at the Bengals, the the Chiefs, you still got to put them in the mix. They only lost by 3 points. The Bills seem to be back on par. And I guess you got to keep the Patriots sort of in the back of your mind as well. But the Bengals, which was a team, I kind of just figured, well, they'll make the playoffs and they'll exit stage left after the first week. No, and so they've staked their claim to say, hey, we're for real too, and we just beat a for real team to prove that. Got a comment here: the Eagles are going to be dangerous. I don't know. I mean, they're winning, but they're beating some bad teams, that are struggling. But you never know. I think what we saw today, David, is that on any given Sunday, I know it's the cliche line. I mean, anything it can happen. The Dolphins were playing well, and the Titans took them to the woodshed today. I don't think most people would have thought the Bengals would beat the Chiefs. That happened. The Colts lost. The Colts are a team I liked. They lose to the Raiders today. Just when we were crowning the Patriots AFC East champions, the Bills take care of them last week. And so I think what we've seen this year is the parity is there, not just in the standings, but on the on-field play too, that in any given week, they're really, in years past, as you know, being a football guy, you can always pick 2 to 3 teams to be in the Super Bowl and get like with 3 picks, probably get two Super Bowl teams out of that 3 or 4 guesses. I don't think we can do that this year, and I think that's kind of fun because it's going to make every playoff game just fun to watch. Because anyone could potentially win that game. Even a wild card team, an 8 seed, could put a game together and knock someone off that you wouldn't expect them to beat. And then once that happens, who knows? What can happen next. So for me, I'm looking forward to that postseason where there's no clear cut favorite. Sure, there's some teams we're more confident about. I mean, even the Rams today in the NFC side, who I like a lot. They had to rally to beat a Ravens team that was really on a second unit. No Lamar Jackson, and struggling a little bit here. And the Ravens again lose another 1-point game, which has been their sort of kind of their what's been going on with them this year. But I mean, there's no team that's just running over people. And I think 13 of the AFC teams as of this minute are still playoff alive, if you will. I think it's similar in the NFC. So it's just been crazy. I think the extra week has done what the NFL has wanted, which is to make more teams more playoff eligible, to later in the season rather than, you're done in week 10 and you're mailing it in and now you're losing to get a higher draft pick. So I think it's for, especially with my Steelers not going to be in that mix, most likely. I like it because I can watch all the games and everyone's got pretty good shot at winning whatever game they're in. There we got a comment there. There's no clear-cut favorite this year. I think that's, some people don't like that. Maybe some old school folks, which I consider myself old school, but I also like, I unless it's the Steelers, full disclosure, I don't always like when, and that hasn't been recently, I don't always like when we kind of know, like, hey, it's these 3 teams or 2 of them are going to make the Super Bowl. I don't think that's a lot of fun. I mean, it's still football. It's fun in that respect. But I like it where it's a wide open field. And I think that's where we got what we got right now. Your thoughts on all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the Bengals, I'm sure you and I have a game ball from that game or,
Mhm.
or that team. But we talked about kind of the young nucleus of that offense a few weeks ago, and Burrow in his second year, Chase in his rookie season, T. Higgins in his second, Mixon is in his 4th or 5th year, I think. Tyler Boyd, kind of that third receiver's in there, and yeah, they're building something pretty cool there. I think the offensive line can still get better. Burrow seems to kind of get rid of the ball pretty quickly, um, and rely on Chase to kind of get some yards after the catch. Although Chase has been just a phenomenal route runner, but yeah, I mean, they took a step up. The Colts kind of took a step back. The Titans kind of planted their flag as getting that, going after that #1 seed, which the Chiefs had that for the taking, and the Bengals didn't let them have it. So the Bengals now win the North, and the Chiefs were on what, a 7 or 8 game winning streak. After starting the season, after the beginning of the season was really shaky for them. So they were kind of streaking, when I think a lot of people were expecting the Titans to play a little worse than they have been without Derrick Henry. But
Yep.
they've been kind of holding their own there. So yeah, I think Cincinnati kind of really kind of threw their hat in there and said, hey, don't forget about us. But and then kind of going to your point about kind of being wide open. We talked a little bit about this, I think, last week, and I lean more towards I like kind of seeing a team that's the team, right? Not that needs to be the same, 2 or 3 teams every single year, but I kind of like it when you've got a team that just looks almost unbeatable, or at least you're wondering how is anybody going to stop this team? Because if they do win, then that's kind of legitimizes that, like, yeah, that was the team. See, that they were the best. And if you beat that team, then, well, you're clearly the best because you beat the best. So I like to kind of see that a little more, but it does make it fun to see who's going to step up and kind of surge in the postseason. So that's pretty cool, and it's also not just because it's an unknown, but more so like the best kind of rises to the occasion, and that's not just the teams but the players too. Like, who's going to actually step up and be the best when it matters most, and those stories kind of play out in the postseason when the best go against the best. So yeah, it'll be fun. And we've got week 17, so we got that extra week next week. So for the first time,
and listen, all those games are gonna, or I don't want to say all, but probably a good high percentage of them are going to be matter. I mean, there's going to be very few on the docket that don't have some implication, whether it's for seeding or whether someone gets in, obviously, or not. So another comment. So the Facebook user doesn't put your name where I'd say it. Says the Titans are getting healthy at the right time, and so I don't know. I don't believe, but they are getting healthy in other spots. I don't think Derrick Henry is going to make, unless they make a deep run. I don't think he's going to be able to play this year. And here's the other question: even if he could, hypothetically, I mean, do you risk that? On a postseason, getting them in there and risk making an injury worse? Again, with that kind of injury, I don't believe I've ever seen anyone come back in the same calendar season. So I don't expect that, but I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. And happened early, but I don't think it happened early enough where if they make a deep run, he's still going to be ready to go. And even if he was, you put him out there after an injury like that in a limited basis anyway. So I think they're going to have to do it, but they've played, like you said, they played pretty well without him being on the field. So they've sort of got a rhythm going. I don't know if they even want to, for this year, sort of mess with that at the risk of. And again, I don't think it's going to be a problem they have to answer, because I don't think he's going to be ready to come back. Real quick, before we get into our picks, we didn't do the show last week. It was Christmas week. And between now and then, as most people know, football lost one of its icons in John Madden, the other day, 85 years old. And I mean, I hate to, football's a lot of people, but Madden's such a huge part of it as a coach and as a broadcaster. The game, obviously a huge hit. And just, you think football, Madden's one of the first guys that coming to mind, and kind of a unique dude. There's no one really, someone asked me, John, who's the closest commentator you think to the way John Madden was? And there really isn't. I mean, if I had to pick one, I think the closest guy, and I'm not saying he is or even that close, but the closest guy to him as far as like being funny and talking about stuff off the field and bringing it to the booth and stuff like that's Tony Romo. Tony Romo sort of got a little bit of that John Madden, like talking about some stuff that happens off the field and being funny. But by no means am I saying Tony Romo's like John Madden. I'm just saying he's probably the current, if the closest one to him. And I don't think there's going to be another guy. And if there was, to me, it would be someone probably trying to be like him, which would be sort of a phoniness to that kind of shtick. So where John Madden, that was John Madden. So big loss, and I had a feeling that he wasn't doing well when people started talking about him a lot more. And then the John Madden kind of football special aired, and they were talking about that. It was like, I think people knew that. I think he was on the back nine, if you will, and then he passed away. So gonna miss him. He was a Raider guy. He was still love for anyone that loves football and is passionate is going to be get a thumbs up from me in my book. So just some thoughts there before we go on to our pick segment.
Yeah, what was most interesting to me is like kind of seeing people's reactions of how they know him. Do they know him as the first? Do you know him as the Hall of Fame coach with the highest winning percentage of coaches of what, at least 10 games? Do you know him as the commentator, the color guy? Do you know him as the video game? And I guess
Yeah,
kind of depending how old you are and that
yeah,
you rank those a little bit differently. But he hit, the cool thing is that he reaches, so many, touches so many different aspects, of the game and entertainment and culture and all that stuff. So that was really cool to see people's just kind of reactions to that of, different people kind of know Madden for different ways and how they would rank those three things.
yeah. Obviously, the younger set knows him probably more for the game, maybe a little bit in the booth. My age, and I think you too remember him even as a coach, and then obviously in the booth, and obviously the game, which was the last of sort of the three things to take place. So I don't think there'll ever be anyone like him, and it's a big loss, and it's sad, but like he would tell you. We got to keep going. There's football to be played. So with that, let me put up our picks board. It's getting a little interesting here with this week and next week to go. Let me go over the standings first. You still out front. These are before today's games, 36, 27, and 1. I've moved into second place with a 7-1 last 2 weeks. I got sort of from under 500 to over at 34, 29, and 1. Jordan moved at third with a 33, 29, and 2 record. So you have in a sense, a 2-game lead over myself. And I think my math, like 2.5 over Jordan. That was before this week. Let's go through our picks. We'll start with you. Green Bay game is going on right now, 20-3 Green Bay. So this pick for the moment looks safe. We both took Green Bay, me and you, so we might win that game. We both took the Rams, and the Rams only won by 1 late, so we lost.
Mm-hmm.
We lost that game. You took Arizona and Dallas under 50. You won that, and you took the Cleveland Browns tomorrow. They're 1.5-point underdogs somehow. I get it. I understand why. I won't touch Steeler games normally, unlike Jordan. So that one will be completed yesterday. So as of right now, if the scores don't change, let's put it that way, you're 2-1 with the Cleveland Steelers game tomorrow. Going to me, Green Bay, like I said, we both lost the Rams. I took the Chiefs today. I thought I didn't think they were going to kill the Bengals. I thought they'd win by a score. We know that wasn't the case. And the Colts game really surprised me. Not only did they not obviously cover, they outright lost. So looking at that, if Green Bay can hold on, I have a one. Just as I got cocky after 7-1 the last 2 weeks, I'll come back with a 1-3 week this week. So running out of time to catch you. I think that would probably clinch it as far as against. So you might have it locked up after this week. Let's go to Jordan. He took Arizona plus 2.5. You got that right. He took the Rams too, man. We all took the Rams today. We looked at that Ravens team and thought, man, that's an easy game to pick. But Ravens said not so fast. So he's 1-1. He took the Buccaneers in that high point spread of 11. They did not cover there in the Jets, and so he'll be 1-2. And he touches the Steeler games, and he took Pittsburgh tomorrow. So he's either going to be 1-3 or barring a tie, or 2-2. You look like you're 3-1, and so you at least gain a game on 2 games on me, and well, at least 1 game on Jordan. So I think we'll have to see once I get all the stuff put in there. But I think you might have it. So barring like an 0-4 week for you, and a 4-0 week from us, I think you'll have that locked up. But still fun. And listen, at one point I was a little bit under 500, so the fact I can get above 500, I'll take moral victory. So let's it's a segment. I got a feeling we're going to get through this kind of quick, which is why I brought up a couple of those topics. But game balls and goats time, and let's start with a game ball. And I got a feeling we're both going to have this guy, and that's Jamar Chase. 11 catches, 266 yards. 3 touchdowns. That's video game-ish. This is a rookie, folks. I mean, this is a crazy line. I don't care if you're a 10-year veteran of this league. And he's when the Bengals made that pick, and myself included, being sort of a draft nit, gets into the draft. I'm like, he's a good player, but man, they had bigger holes in other spots to take him there. And I just said, man, they're just doing it. It's Burrow's old roommate, teammate. I mean, not that he's going to be a bust, but they have bigger holes and bigger needs. I don't like that pick. But listen, I got to eat crow here. He's had an incredible year, and not like a rookie. I mean, he's putting up more than just video game numbers. And I mean, listen, the Bengals are 10-6. AFC North champions, and still trying to get the number 1 seed. I mean, that's just insane. So I'm assuming you gave one to him as well. You want to comment there?
Yeah, for sure. Had to go with him. The 266 yards. He averaged a little over 24 yards per reception and caught 3 of Burrow's 4 touchdowns. And also had to give a quick nod to Burrow with 446 yards and 4 touchdowns. And
so did you not give him one of your game balls too?
No, but Burrow didn't get a second. I know. But well, honestly, I kind of looked at it as like,
from last week,
it's kind of 2 sides of the same coin. I mean, Chase has to get his catches from Burrow's passes, and Burrow's gonna look for Chase, so they kind of build each other up a little bit. But I had to pull Chase out. He's the lock for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Mac Jones might have kind of given him a run for a little bit, but he had a 72-yard play. He was targeted 12 times. They gave him 12 targets, so he caught 11 passes from those 12 targets. I believe with this performance, he now retakes the yards per reception in the league. So he is literally the most explosive offensive player in the NFL. Just in terms of. Yeah, and he's a rookie, and he didn't play football last year because he sat out.
Yeah.
And he only played 2 seasons at LSU, and he really wasn't a top receiver his freshman season. He obviously was in his sophomore season when he won the Blitnikoff and they won the national championship. So you've got a guy who coming into this year, only played football 2 of the last 3 seasons, and that was just a sophomore season in college, but. Yeah, huge. So kind of looking at all that context and considering the importance of the game, and that's kind of what I picked my game balls and goats this week, was a little bit more the context and the importance of the matchups and the playoff implications and everything like that. So we've seen the Bengals kind of lose a game or 2 like this season, but this time they won it, and they ended the Chiefs' winning streak. So that was cool to see, where the Chiefs looked like they were gonna yet again represent the AFC, and they still might in the Super Bowl. But the Bengals kind of solidified their place and won the game. They got down there late. They tried to get in the end zone a few times, wasn't working. It almost looked like they kind of screwed it up there at the end. I watched the end of that game, but they kicked that field goal, easy kind of chip shot field goal finally. To win the game. But yeah, that was the Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase show, just like we saw all year in 2019 at LSU. But yeah, That's a lethal combo for a long time, man. I mean, they're going to be one of the top
Don't
duos for a
remind
long
me.
time.
I'm having nightmares already as a Steeler fan. The Steelers got to be looking at that and say we better shore up that secondary because they're hard enough.
Yeah.
I don't care who you got back there, but if you've got
Yeah,
crappy
and
secondary,
remember that they took Chase with their first pick, and everybody was saying that they should have picked a tackle to protect Burrow. You know,
yeah,
who got clobbered and blew out his knee last season, and at the time they were right. You know, they probably should have picked a tackle to protect Burrow, but you know, that's not looking like
yeah. Well, the
it's not
Bengals
looking like they
having the
made the right
last.
pick now.
Yeah, they're having the last laugh. All right, we'll snake draft this like we usually do. I got to ask you, give us another game ball. If it's not Burrow, who's the other? Who's your next one too?
Okay, so you know, obviously, I don't shy away from picking Longhorns, but I almost went with Rashard Penny with the Seahawks. He had a good game, but again,
Yeah,
I wanted to pick a performance that kind of mattered. So I went with Deontay Foreman with the Titans, running
yeah,
back who's been filling in for Derrick Henry. He had 132 yards on 26 carries and a touchdown. So you know, in helping the Titans really you know chase that that lone buy in the AFC. So they're now 11-5, and like you said, that they beat a Dolphins team that was really surging and kind of threatening.
yeah,
But you know, so kind of thinking about that context of both of those, you know, kind of main points of you know the week 16, you know, with one
crunch
week
time.
left heading into the postseason.
Yeah,
That was a good performance by you know, Foreman was, I think, a third round pick by the Texans just a few years ago. And then he was released after a couple of seasons and kind of bounced around, and now he's doing a pretty good job of filling in for Derrick Henry and helping kind
yeah.
of keep the Titans alive at the top of the AFC. So that was I had to call that one out.
All right, I didn't give him one, but you know, I want to say definitely worthy of one. I went with the layup. I went with the easy one. I went with Burrow, and I
Mhm.
agree with everything you said. I mean, you know, they sort of, you know, in a game like that, you could probably give the whole team almost one. But when I looked at Burrow's line, you know, 446 yards passing after a week where he had 500. So in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
he's had almost 1,000 yards passing. We didn't do the show last week. We probably would have gave one to. I would have gave him one last week. So I kind of carried it over with this week's 4 touchdowns. Like you said, 3 of those going to Jamar. But this is what stood out to me even more so than the 4 touchdowns and the almost 500 yards again after throwing it last week. 30 for 39, 30 completions
Yeah.
out of 39 attempts. That's insane. And you like you said, these are not all like bubble screens and little dinks and dunks. These are vertical down the field throws too. And so to only have
Yeah, he had
nine
almost 12
incomplete.
yards per attempt,
Yeah, and only
which
nine
is
incompletions.
big.
I don't believe he threw any picks today. And one of the reasons I think Jordan's not on the show today is because me and Jordan argue here off the air about Burrow. Burrow, he thinks he's overrated, and I think he's the real deal. And I think he didn't want to come on after 2 weeks that Burrow had and sort of face the music. And listen, like I tell him, I like Joe Burrow. I liked him at LSU. I wish the Bengals didn't draft him because I like him. But I got to be honest, he's the real deal. And you know, we got to give credit where credit's due, regardless of what jersey they're wearing. You know, so I think Jordan sort of didn't want to face reality, and so it's just me and you tonight. But yeah, I did give Burrow one of my game balls. So I went with Burrow and Chase. I had one more, but let's give out a couple goats. We'll swing back. I'll give out one. I don't know if he made your list. It's pretty. Again, I went with layups this week. Again, you got to give one to Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
You do that kind of behavior. You're supposed to be a grown man. You know, if I'm not condoning that at all. Like you do that, if your team's winless and you do that, you're a bad teammate. When you do that on a team that's won their division, getting ready for the playoffs and defending Super Bowl champion you got a ring from, and you do that at this point in the year. He could have had before he did that. He could have had 20 catches for 400 yards. He would have still got a GOAT today, and obviously he didn't have that line. But that's just Bush League. This is what this guy his track record is shown. That's who he really is. It's always going to rear its ugly head at some point, even if you have a good stretch for a little bit. And so this was an easy game or goal, I should say, to give out. I mean, you do that on a very good team. You walk out on your teammates, and you do that, you get a go. That's just, to me, a layup. I'm assuming you agree. I think I heard you say, yeah.
Oh yeah. That was an easy pick. Just yeah, like I said, I mean, the Buccaneers are a good team. So it's not like they're losing, one of their top superstars that they just have to have. I think they threw him in there, like obviously we saw the Patriots, give that a shot, and what's his face, Josh Gordon has was kind of given the same treatment for a few chances. And but yeah, it was just a weird deal and a bad look all around. So yeah, that was a pretty easy pick.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy, and I don't even want to talk about this guy that much. I think he enjoys that too much if we're talking about him. But I'll finish with this. I mean, this guy was on pace for a Hall of Fame wide receiver type career, putting
Yeah.
up those kind of numbers. Everything looked good. Maybe a little bit on social media and doing some videos, but it just got off the rails. And I mean, this guy's not going to get in the Hall of Fame. We've seen look what the writers and the voters did with Terrell Owens for a while, made him pay. And I mean, AB's in a whole different stratosphere than Terrell Owens is, and as crazy as Terrell Owens is. So there's no way to me AB gets in the Hall of Fame now. Just it's sad when you think of it on that sort of level. He was on pace to be a Hall of Famer, and he's really just a meme, like you said, a joke. Someone, when there's one point you thought about, you say the name Antonio Brown, and you'd say one of the best receivers in the NFL. Now you say Antonio Brown, and you're going to hear, six different non on the field accolade stuff. They're gonna talk about all the off the field antics, all the goofball and stuff like he did today. And it's just a fall from grace, and what the old what could have been had he just stayed the course and not got off the rails. And so it's a sad tale, and I don't want to talk about him anymore. So let me give us another go. Your second one.
um Well, I usually have to go with at least one position unit, but I've got the Cowboys running game, the Cowboys running backs, and also the run blocking as well. They drop 25-22 to the Cardinals, and kind of a similar situation as the Bengals and Chiefs game that we were talking about. The Cardinals at one time had the best record in the NFL, and obviously the NFC as well. But yeah, was it time for the Cowboys to kind of say, "Hey, right here, as we head into the playoffs, yes, we can beat arguably the best team in the NFC. The Packers are obviously there, the Rams are there, the Buccaneers are there, but the Cowboys are maybe kind of showing that they were kind of fool's gold. They've just dropped games to these slightly better teams. They've been close, but one of the common themes is just a pathetic showing among the Cowboys running backs. Ezekiel Elliott had 9 carries for 16 yards. Tony Pollard just 3 carries for 9 yards. Pollard had a decent day catching the ball, but I'm talking about the running game. Dak Prescott led the rushing with 20 yards, so 45 total yards, but only what 25 among the running backs. And if you go back and look at all the Cowboys' losses, it's somewhat similar. I don't think they had more than like 80 yards among their running backs in each of their losses. So when they drop these games, it just seems to be It's not as if they tried to run the ball, 20 to 30 times with running backs and just couldn't do it. It almost just seems like they kind of, go here and there and abandon it and try to let Dak Prescott win the game with 40 passes. So that was overall just kind of disappointing, and it just kind of seems to be a theme when the Cowboys lose. But was a good time for them to put away a team at home as well.
Yeah.
So, but didn't make it happen.
Yeah,
Kyler Murray's still undefeated at AT&T Stadium, which is kind of a thing around here because he's from Allen, Texas, which is about 30 minutes from me. He won all of his high school championship games there, one in college, and hasn't lost in the NFL.
Yeah, Dallas should try to make some sort of blockbuster Herschel Walker deal and get him in. Can you imagine that? It's a little bit of pipe dream in there, but it's funny to talk about. Yeah, somehow I didn't pick either Zeke or Pollard, although they're both worthy of that. I almost feel bad that I didn't pick them. But the one of the guys I picked for my goats, and again, probably some of these are kind of so easy they're layups, but you talk about relying on a guy like Dak, like Dallas does. Well, today in the Giants game, Saquon, and he's not my GOAT. He had 100 yards for the first time, I believe, this year. He was the lone bright spot. But Mike Glennon, I know he's sort of a career backup, and maybe we should give him a little pass for that. 4 of 11 for 24 yards, 2 picks, 4 sacks, and here's my favorite stat: 5.3 passer rating. That's not, you didn't hear me wrong. 5.3 passer rating. They lost 29-3. So it wasn't like it was 24-21 and they're just like, Saquon, keep us in the game, run this, and we'll score that way. They're down by 20-something points, and at some point, Joe Judge says, I have so little confidence in Mike Glennon, I'm not even going to have him throw anymore. We're just going to run it out, run this season out. I know the Giants front office gave Joe Judge a vote of confidence and Daniel Jones that they're to be back next year. But what I saw today, you really have to question that. And I liked Joe Judge. Listen, this is a team I picked, and it looks horrible pick now to pick to win this division when we did our picks. But you're down 20 points. Your season's over. What do you got to lose? Let him throw it. Who cares? Mike Glennon's not going to probably be a Giant next year. He might not even be in the league, period, next year. And if you don't have faith in Glennon, right, you got Jake Fromm who's behind him. Put him in the game. He did that last week. He put Jake Fromm in. That's this is the head scratcher to me. Not only did he, pull the reins on Glennon and stop calling pass plays, he didn't even put Fromm in to try to throw the ball. He basically got into a fetal position and waved the white flag and said, we're done. And that, as a coach, as some, I think I'm not an NFL coach, but I've coached high school football. That is just the definition of giving up. And, to those fans that do come to the game still, I know they're probably realistic and know they're not going to win most of these games, but to just not even put up a fight, what kind of message are you sending to your team, the rest of the team? And I thought it was, so I give it to, you know what, I'm gonna change it and give it to Mike Glennon / Joe Judge. I mean, Mike Glennon obviously didn't perform and play terrible, but Joe Judge, shame on you for not, keeping him in and not having him throw anymore. Put someone else in that, if you don't have faith in the one guy, put in the next guy to try to throw. And didn't do that. Was pretty odd, to say the least. And, when I didn't watch this game, but when I saw that line, I thought it's odd. Why is he the only quarterback? Did he get hurt? What am I missing? And nope, I read the recap and went to some New York news stations, and they're kind of saying the same thing. So you're a dumpster fire there. So I'm gonna add Joe Judge after talking about it, I'm going to add Joe Judge along with Glennon on the my second goat right there. So we'll go back down. I'll give out my last game ball, and it's a guy I've kind of picked on, and I've picked on the organization for really sort of making Josh Allen the running back. Today they got a performance I think they hope they see on a more frequent basis, and that's Devin Singletary today. 23 carries, 110 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And I will tell you this, you know as I do as a football guy and coach, if Buffalo gets a running game from someone other than named Josh Allen, they're going to be scary. And I think that's what happened today. I'm not saying I expect that every week. And here's the funny thing: it didn't start out that way. The first 2 rushing touchdowns today were actually scored by Josh Allen. So it looked like it was going to be the same movie again. I'm sure some of these yards were sort of at the end, garbage time, but I saw some of those early Singletary runs early in the game, and he was breaking tackles and making guys miss. So I do want to give the proper credit. So if the Bills, I think this is the only thing that really holds the Bills back is they just asked Josh Allen to take on too much on his plate. And so if they can get other guys besides wide receivers involved in this offense, they're going to be harder to game plan against and be more formidable in the playoffs. So I know I've picked on their running game, including Singletary and Zach Moss. I got to give Singletary today my last game ball. So I went with Burrow, Chase, and Singletary for game balls. But going back to you, either whatever's left on your list, do you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I got one each, so I'll go game ball. I went with Mac Jones. I know it was the Jaguars, but the offense scored 50 points. He was 22 of 30 for 227 yards and 3 touchdowns. And again, a rookie, right? Like, let's keep this in mind. A rookie that took over for Tua at Alabama, when Tua left. But Jones, obviously, it was kind of one of those deals like, well, are these guys having such a great time at Alabama because of all the first round wide receivers that they get to throw to?
Yeah.
And I guess the answer is yes and yes. But yeah, I mean, I think other than Chase, the offensive rookie of the year would go to Jones. But yeah, and again, the Patriots are kind of there, maybe at near the bottom of the AFC playoff mix. But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty impressive performance, even for a rookie. The Patriots run game was still there, but that was just cool to see. Just Jones sort of, he's obviously not kind of a fluke rookie quarterback, especially considering this rookie quarterback class. With Lawrence and all the guys that were kind of maybe considered to have a little bit more NFL potential. But yeah, pretty good performance there by Jones. It'll be interesting to see what they do if they make any noise in the postseason. My last GOAT was another quarterback in the same division. You mentioned him on the ground, but I went with Josh Allen just because he had 3 interceptions and only 120 yards through the
Josh
air.
Allen, even in the win.
Yeah, even in the win, Josh
I like
Allen.
it. I just want to make sure.
Josh Allen even beating the Falcons, 3 interceptions, 120 yards.
Yeah.
He was there on the ground, no doubt. You pointed that out, but that's you, like you said, you don't want to see that. You want to see Josh Allen getting 300 yards through the air and and making some plays with his feet. He'll score touchdowns with his feet, no doubt. But you just don't want to see this Josh Allen, I think. Especially heading into the postseason.
Yeah.
I had the Bills as my pick in the Super Bowl, but I just don't think you want to see heading with one more week to go, if you're a Bills fan, you would want to see your passing game clicking, but 120 yards through the air for Allen. And I know it's getting cold up there in your part of in your neck of the woods, but it's Allen is certainly one of the top kind of uh, rising quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, and in the top one from that 2018 class. But yeah, that just kind of stood out. And I don't know if all three of his interceptions are his fault. Sometimes that's
No,
not.
I watched this game, so I'm not going to defend them. Yeah, they weren't real. I think one might have been tipped, but two of them were just he threw into like double coverage,
Right.
and then he got picked. And so
And,
yeah,
and he only hit four receivers. Like you
yeah,
also want to see spread the
spreading the
ball
ball around. Yeah,
around, but just 11 completions out of 26 attempts. But yeah, they won. Yeah, Atlanta's not good. Their defense isn't good. But you would just hope that you would want to see your top quarterback. And Allen has the stats. He's got well over 4,000 yards, 30 something touchdowns. He has like 12 interceptions. Maybe now I guess 15. but yeah, if you're a Bills fan, you want to see your quarterback clicking at this time of year, and
yeah.
I'd be a little concerned right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I knew he played bad. I didn't give him a go. He was in the mix, but there were some other guys I put sort of ahead of him, and it's maybe why I put Singletary on my game ball guy, because I think he kind of really, without that performance, that game's probably a lot closer. I did give my last go to a quarterback in that game, but it wasn't Josh Allen. It was the Falcons quarterback. Matt Ryan. When I first asked you, Josh, I thought you might have met Matt Ryan, and you said,
No.
yeah. So that's why I just went. But I gave it to Matt Ryan. 13 for 23, under 200 yards passing. He got sacked on his butt 5 times. I watched this game, the majority of it. He looks, to me, older than his actual age, David. He looks like the last couple of years he's just aged in dog years. And when we talk about guys like Roethlisberger kind of about to exit the league, I'm not saying he's any great shakes at the end here, but he's still performing. Matt Ryan looks like a guy that probably should retire. He's younger than Roethlisberger, obviously by a few years, but Atlanta's got some quarterback issues. They got Kyle Pitts, who's a great young player, who's the first tight end, rookie tight end to go over 1,000 yards. You want to, some people say he's really a wide receiver, John. He plays in the tight end slot. Maybe he has wide receiver body type and hands, but, he's got weapons. Cordarrelle Patterson's nothing to sneeze at, kind of having a second career, but and watching him today, I've seen the box scores, but in really watching him on TV and watching him, it just, I was a little shocked that I thought I was watching just an older guy at the end. And when I think about, he's not young either, but they got quarterback issues, and it's sad to see it end like that. He probably should have a ring. We all remember the Patriots game where they sort of had that in the bag and let him off the ropes. And I just don't think it's going to be a good ending for Matt Ryan. He looks like he's slow and he's not accurate like he used to be. And it's like watching this sort of a prize fighter, a boxer on their last career fights when they're not the same fighter anymore. And you think back of the younger fighter, and it's just they're not that person anymore. That's how I look at sort of Matt Ryan. I think this team with a new coach, some young folks are going to be looking to get younger at the quarterback spot. So it's sad to watch. I like Matt Ryan. He's kind of a good dude by all accounts. Kind of doesn't do a lot of talking and just plays. But he looks like a shell sort of the quarterback I used to know. I mean, it wasn't that long ago he was up for an MVP consideration. So those days look like they're in the rear view. But I agree, Josh Allen didn't play well. I gave it to another guy who didn't play well. Just happened to be on the losing side. So I gave Josh Allen, I guess, the get out of jail free card because they won, and I gave it to the losing team. But I agree with your assessment, Josh Allen. Just one comment on Mac Jones a little bit, and then as we wrap it up, I mean, Mac Jones had a crazy year. If you would have showed me the stat line for Mac Jones and said which rookie quarterback that would this be this year, I think a lot of us, I can't speak for you, but a lot of people would say that looks like maybe Trevor Lawrence type of year. I don't know how many games they're going to win, but I think he's the transcendent quarterback. And so the two surprises for me this year on the rookie side is how well Mac Jones is actually playing and how poor Trevor Lawrence looks. And so I kind of want to just one last question before we wrap up this episode. I thought Trevor Lawrence, and again, he's a rookie. It's his first year. This is not the end. But I'm shocked at how poorly he's played. Even with all the turmoil there, the whole Urban Meyer debacle, I get all that. Maybe when he gets a real, a lot of people say when they get a real coach in there, he'll get back on track. I like to think that too. But do you think like there's a shot that Trevor Lawrence, a lot of people using the B word with him already, even after one rookie season, the B word being bust. I mean, you think there's any shot, 4 or 5 years, 6 years later, we're saying, man, Trevor Lawrence was terrible and never panned out.
I'd be pretty surprised if we said that. Lawrence was one of the most accurate, just pure passers I've ever seen in college football. I mean, he reminded me of Peyton Manning, just his like motion and his style, and he's a tall guy, and he's more athletic than people kind of would assume. He had sure he had a lot of weapons at Clemson, but I think right now he just kind of feels like there's nothing around him. The only reason Urban Meyer was there was because of him, was because of Trevor Lawrence, and now Meyer's not there, so I would think Lawrence kind of feels like he's on an island a little bit. I was really excited, and we've talked about this before, when Jacksonville drafted Travis Etienne, who played with Lawrence at Clemson, and obviously he missed the whole season getting hurt. But I think he's going to make a difference, when he gets in there. Obviously, they need an offensive line. They need a lot of stuff. I thought their receiver group was, somewhat decent. I expected a little bit more out of the offense, kind of in total.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if we go 4 or 5 years down the road and say that Trevor Lawrence was just an absolute bust. He's had success, at every level. He was one of the highest rated high school quarterbacks. Really, he was one of the highest rated high school recruits ever. If you take the 24/7, how they do their composite ratings, but I'd be pretty surprised. I just think he's he probably feels like he's just kind of up to his neck right now. But we'll see what they build around him and how he calms down, next year and the next. So, but there's no denying the guy knows how to throw the football. I just think it's one of those things where he's probably trying too hard and probably just saying, screw it, this is a bad team, so let's just take chances and see if we can muscle our way through there. But he's definitely gonna have to calm down and learn.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you almost have to kind of not give him a complete pass this year, but you do have to give him a sort of pass. That thing got off the rails with Urban Meyer very quickly. I think that locker room probably became a shambles. Everything I read is the team even stopped listening to Meyer, became very undisciplined. As talented as Trevor Lawrence is, got to remember he's a young rookie. at a tough position to play. So I still am shocked at how bad his stats are. The thing that makes me a little nervous, I agree with you. I think he's, with better tutelage, a new coach, some better players around him at the end coming back, assuming next year, and then whatever they get in this year's draft, and they're going to have high picks again with their performance this year. I'm not cashing in my chips just yet. The one thing that I'm sort of surprised is how many he's throwing a lot of interceptions, and like you said,
Yeah.
he is very accurate. And that stat, if anything makes me a little nervous, is that decision making stuff. I don't want to say I've watched every Jags game, but I have watched a few, and some of those passes were ill thrown and shouldn't have been thrown in that direction. Again, he's young, he's a rookie. No matter how talented you are at college, there is a learning curve in the NFL. I guess I'm a little more nervous because we're seeing what Mac Jones is doing. And, if you would have told me that if you would have told me each of these guys' season stats would be this at this point, I would have been shocked like before the year. And so that's why I'm a little bit nervous, long term. But, well, I'm going to give him a pass too this year. With that train wreck that happened there with Myers. So I think next year is going to be the year, David, we look at, depending on who they get in the draft, who they get as a coach. I think we'll look at next year and see, does Trevor Lawrence make any strides from year one to year two with a better team, assuming a better stable coach and tutelage. And I'll worry more, I guess, if we see more of the same next year with different cast of characters in the play. Then I would start to panic that maybe, he was rated too high for as great as he was in college and high school. But I lean kind of where you're saying. I think once they get everything sort of a little more stabilized there, the performance will match up better. So we'll have to wait and see. They're going to have some high picks, not winning many games, and they're going to add some weapons for them. So we'll see how that all plays out. All right, that's gonna do it. Episode 19. We're live Sunday nights, 9:30, on the Sports Card Nation social medias. Also, look for us on the Six Pack Coverage Network YouTube channel. Subscribe to them. You'll catch this show and all the other shows they offer. And one more week, David. It's it's going to be fun to do
about
the
to wrap
show.
it up.
Yeah, it'll be fun to do
things are getting
show.
serious.
Yeah, next week will be fun. I think you might have locked up the picks competition. We'll see, but for me, I guess as long as I can beat Jordan, I'll take the small victories too. But it's always fun, and it's good to be back after taking Christmas week off. If you don't catch us live at 9:30, that's okay. We're on most major podcast platforms, and like I said, you can also catch the video on Six Pack Coverage Network. So for David Lee, I'm John Newman, and we'll see you in a week.